because you're not actually interested in protecting women in Texas. That's the guise of the bill, right? It's the Trojan horse that you use for all this anti-trans nonsense. I remember for years as Republicans, gay marriage is going to end the world. And of course, then the public opinion shifted, the Overton window moved, and you had to pick a new scapegoat. That's what you always have to do. It's not that you can actually sit here and do the business of the people, make lives better for Texans like me. No. There's no time for that. We got to bully 1% of the population. We gotta harm them as badly as we possibly can. We gotta make them afraid. We gotta make them stay in their homes so that you're not forced to actually acknowledge that they exist. If we were sitting here like 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, instead of talking about trans women going into bathrooms, you'd be talking about black women going into white bathrooms. Do y'all ever get tired of being on the wrong side of history?
Progressives across Texas saw that recent and brutal takedown from the floor of the Texas Senate over the weekend and wondered, who is that guy? Well, that guy is Nick Mulberg. And chances are you haven't heard of him before because he's not an elected official or an established activist, just an everyday citizen, just like any of us, who saw what Texas Republicans were doing and decided to go to the Capitol and give them what for. Nice work, Nick, and we want to see more. It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. As Monday dawns, so dawns Sine Die, the final full day of the 89th Texas legislature, which this time has more or less been a playground for the hard right of Texas, who have spent a lot more time causing new problems than making any grown-up attempt to solve many of the massive problems that face the Lone Star State. As the drama draws to a close, here's a quick survey of the damage that we'll be unpacking over the next few months. The Texas GOP clearly has far too much time on its hands and has had the luxury of being creative about who they'll put the boots to and how. And this first bit almost seems time to arrive with the beginning of Pride Month. Sophia Sorochinskaya at the Texas Tribune writes about probably the most dramatic confrontation on the House floor over this last weekend on Saturday, as Democrats rightfully lashed out at GOP plans to place a ban on LGBTQ plus clubs at Texas schools. This is Senate Bill 12, authored by Senator Brandon Creighton. It won final legislative passage this weekend. It bans Texas schools from authorizing or sponsoring student clubs based on sexual orientation or gender identity. Among the outraged were House Minority Leader Gene Wu of Houston, who said, quote, "The real monsters are not kids trying to figure out who they are. The monsters are not the teachers who love them and encourage them and support them. They are not the books that provide them with some amount of comfort and information. The real monsters are here," unquote. Representative Rafael Anchia of Dallas agreed, noting that his own daughter was a Pride Club vice president at her school and that these clubs, quote, "are no more about sex than 4-H or ROTC or the basketball team. They'd get together and they'd watch movies, they'd color, they'd go to musicals. It was about a kid who felt weird, who found her people, and everything about it was good. I don't know why grown-ups in this body are so triggered with my daughter getting together with her classmates in a school-sponsored activity," unquote. Representative Aaron Zwiener of Driftwood theorized that this bill comes from Republican lawmakers who are, quote, "afraid that your kids or your grandkids might grow up queer." Getting silence in schools from the LGBTQ community, which is what this bill is designed to do, will not stop your kids from being gay. It will just make them afraid to come out. It will make them afraid to live their lives as their full selves. It will make them afraid to tell you when they figure out that they're LGBTQ, and it might damage your relationship with them forever, unquote. Eleanor Dearman at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram quotes Fort Worth Democrat Nicole Collier, who asked, "What's next? Will there be a ban on the Texas Legislative Black Caucus or the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus? I don't know. But what this bill is doing is pushing our black, brown, LGBTQ people into the shadows of the dark as if we are not accepted, and it hurts," unquote. But nonetheless, Senate Bill 12 is off to the governor's desk. Almost as interesting as the legislation that did make it to Greg Abbott, the legislation that didn't. Katie Barber at mysanantonio.com is careful to add the caveat here that any of this stuff could be revived, possibly in special sessions, certainly in future regular sessions, but for now, the following appears to be dead. Top of the list, Senate Bill 2880, a crackdown on abortion medication, out-of-state travel for abortion care, and more. Despite passing the Senate and being favorably received by the House of State Affairs Committee, it appears to be dead. Senate Bill 16, the Texas version of the Federal SAVE Act, which would have required onerous degrees of citizenship and name proof in order to vote, appears to be dead. House Bill 186, which would have banned minors from using social media, appears to be dead. Senate Bill 2858, which would have given Attorney General Ken Paxton additional powers to sue cities for implementing procedures he finds too liberal, appears to be dead. House Bill 796 is a piece of work. It would allow the ledge to block federal actions they find to be unconstitutional, a bill that itself appears to be blatantly unconstitutional, but that's okay because it appears to be dead. All of that's mostly good news for now for progressive folks, but there's one we'd been hopeful for just out of basic humanity, which of course we're talking about the ledge here. House Bill 3006 would have given the state 7 years to install basic air conditioning in all of its prisons. It appears to be dead. So our prisons continue to be inhumane torture chambers, not only for inmates, but for staff as well, from May through September every summer here in Texas. Beyond tonight at midnight, there are 3 weeks remaining for the governor to sign everything or not. Plenty to unpack, as we said. And after that, for us at Progress Texas, it's off to the races for the elections that are coming up. And there's plenty to vote against in the upcoming election season, especially for those of us in Texas who have reaped the benefits of our state's pioneering of green energy. And that's all of us, frankly, as renewables have very much been key to stabilizing and strengthening our notoriously flimsy power grid. But the Trump administration disagrees. Lucio Vasquez at Houston Public Media says that on Friday, the U.S. Department of Energy announced the cancellation of over $1 billion in clean energy funding for Texas, part of a broader rollback of 24 projects nationwide that officials say don't meet national energy priorities. Canceled Texas projects include major grants to ExxonMobil, Eastman Chemical, Ørsted, and other energy operators. That ExxonMobil project was to replace natural gas with hydrogen at its plant in Baytown. The move is expected to save $3.6 billion, but has sparked criticism from energy advocates who say it jeopardizes U.S. energy innovation and manufacturing. 4 of the existing 6 federally funded clean energy projects in Texas have now lost support. Stephen Nadell, executive director of the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, says, quote, "This program could have been a centerpiece of achieving the administration's goal to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Choosing to cancel these awards is short-sighted, and I think we're going to look back at this moment with regret," unquote. An ever-advancing and dystopian surveillance state under Donald Trump and Republicans in Texas is also worth voting against. Arwa Madawi at The Guardian expands on that police tracking operation pursuing a woman who had self-managed an abortion we told you about on Friday. The fact is, if you drive a car, you're being tracked by ALPR technology. That stands for Automated License Plate Readers, which log and track where your car has been and when. Law enforcement can use this information, of course, to track down criminal suspects and help solve crimes, which is great. But as we learned last week, they can also use the system known as flock to exert control over the bodies of women. Civil rights advocates have been warning of the potential for abuse of this system, that it can be used to criminalize people seeking reproductive health and further erode their ability to move about their daily lives free of being tracked and traced. And that it, quote, illustrates how surveillance isn't actually about benefiting society or protecting people. It's about enforcing the political goals of those in power, unquote. Scary read from The Guardian, linked in the show notes. And finally, this morning, sticking with the subject of scary technology, this weekend there was a lot of new writing and thinking on artificial intelligence being shared around, in one case by President Barack Obama, in which we discover that corporate America, primarily in technology and finance, but certainly not limited to those fields, have been perhaps less than forthcoming about the impact that AI is on the verge of having on jobs in those sectors, especially for younger workers and fresh college graduates who may be about to discover that computers will now do the entry-level jobs that they've been preparing themselves at university to take. And also that lawmakers and elected leaders of both parties so far appear to be sleepwalking into what could become a major employment crisis across the entire country. I've got 2 kids in this bunch myself, and our family's definitely concerned. Democrats need to wake up to the issue of AI-related unemployment right now and start working on what they'll offer as solutions. This is a real issue that's going to hit young Americans and Texans hard as the elections approach. The time to take it seriously and prepare a plan is right now. If you're a young person about to enter the workforce, or if you're like me and your kids are in that position, there are hard facts about AI that we need to face. See the show notes. DFW and North Texas friends, please mark your calendars for Monday, June 9th, and we'll be hosting our 15th anniversary celebration in Dallas. Links to become a supporter and to secure your tickets are up now at progresstexas.org. Shout out to our generous event sponsors, Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Pamela Pearson, Alex Andrade, Scott Elpingstone, the law offices of Domingo A. Garcia, PC, Carol Taylor, Chuck Cruz, Amy Forehand, Eric Johnson and Dr. Mark Parker, John Mazzaro, the Honorable Gene Wu, Jason Smith and Sarah Pareda, Valerie DeVille, the 134-pack, the Collin County Democratic Party, and many, many more. We appreciate all y'all very much. Look forward to celebrating with you in Dallas. 15 years of progress. Monday, June the 9th, 1 week from today. Hope to see you there. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities now at progresstexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light that we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding, and if that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate like Marianne Reisner, Camille Tucker, and Peter Sherrod all have lately. We appreciate all of y'all very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit, rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and a great week. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.